In a small village in Uttar Pradesh, a boy was born who would one day become a hero. His name was Ram Prasad Bismil. He was born on June 11, 1897, in Shahjahanpur. His family was not very rich, but they were full of love and strong values. His father, Muralidhar, worked at the local municipality, and his mother, Mulmati, was a kind and wise woman. From a young age, Ram Prasad learned the importance of honesty, courage, and standing up for what is right. His mother especially was a great influence on him. She taught him stories from Indian epics, filling his mind with tales of bravery and sacrifice. These stories planted the first seeds of patriotism in his young heart, making him dream of a strong and free India. Ram Prasad was a bright but sometimes mischievous boy. He loved to read, but his father was often strict about his studies. His real education, however, came from the world around him. He saw how his country was ruled by the British, and it made him sad and angry. He noticed the unfairness and the way Indians were treated in their own land. His mother noticed the fire in his eyes. She guided him gently, teaching him that true strength was not just about anger, but about using that anger to do something good. She encouraged his love for reading and learning, knowing that knowledge would be his greatest weapon in the fight for justice and freedom for his beloved motherland. His early education was a mix of Hindi and Urdu, which was quite common at the time. This knowledge of two languages would later help him become a powerful poet and writer. He loved learning new things and was always curious. His father wanted him to have a stable job, to live a simple and secure life. But Ram Prasad had a different destiny waiting for him. The lessons of courage he learned from his mother and the stories of heroes he read in books were shaping his mind. He was not meant for an ordinary life. His heart was already beating for India, and he was searching for a way to serve his country and make it proud. As he grew older, his feelings for his country became stronger. He saw the poverty and suffering of his people under foreign rule. He felt a deep connection to his land and its culture. The values his parents taught him, honesty, hard work, and compassion, made him a thoughtful young man. He believed that every Indian had a duty to protect their motherland. This strong sense of duty would soon lead him down a path of revolution, a path of great danger, but also of great honor. His journey from a simple village boy to a legendary freedom fighter was just beginning, and it was his strong family values that gave him the foundation to walk this difficult road. The world outside Ram Prasad's small town was changing fast. India was awakening, and people were starting to demand freedom. A few key events and people lit the fire of revolution in Bismil's heart. One of the most important influences was Swami Dayanand Saraswati, the founder of the Arya Samaj. Bismil joined the Arya Samaj, a reform movement that called for a return to Vedic values and a rejection of foreign domination. The teachings of Arya Samaj gave him a sense of pride in his Indian heritage. It taught him that India had a glorious past and deserved a glorious future, free from the chains of British rule. This was a powerful idea that filled him with hope and determination. Another person who deeply inspired him was a revolutionary named Bhai Parmanand. Bhai Parmanand was sentenced to death for his role in the freedom struggle. Even though his sentence was later changed, the news of his bravery and sacrifice moved Bismil deeply. He read about Bhai Parmanand's courage and his unwavering love for India. It made him realize that freedom would not come easily. It required sacrifice, and he felt ready to make that sacrifice. He saw heroes like Bhai Parmanand as role models. They were ordinary people doing extraordinary things for their country, and Bismil wanted to be just like them, a soldier in the army of freedom fighters. The Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919 was a turning point for Bismil, as it was for many young Indians. The news of innocent men, women, and children being mercilessly killed by British troops in Amritsar filled him with immense pain and anger. The cruelty of the act shocked the entire nation. For Bismil, it was a clear sign that peaceful protests alone might not be enough. He felt that the British Empire only understood the language of force. This tragic event hardened his resolve. He vowed that he would dedicate his life to driving the British out of India so that such a tragedy could never happen again on Indian soil. Inspired by these events and people, Bismil started to connect with other like-minded young men. He began to believe that a revolution was necessary. He read about revolutions in other countries like Russia and Ireland and learned about their strategies. He understood that to fight a powerful empire, they needed to be organized and united. The spark that was lit in his heart was now turning into a raging fire. He was no longer just a boy from Shahjahanpur, he was becoming a revolutionary, a leader who was ready to risk everything for the dream of a free India. His path was set, and he was ready to walk it with courage. While Ram Prasad Bismil was becoming a revolutionary, another side of him was also growing, the poet. He discovered that words could be as powerful as weapons. He started writing poetry to express his deep love for India and his burning desire for freedom. Writing gave him a way to share his feelings with others and inspire them to join the cause. He used simple, powerful language that everyone could understand. His poems were not just beautiful, they were a call to action. They spoke of sacrifice, bravery, and the dream of a glorious, independent India. His words became a source of strength for many who felt lost and hopeless under British rule. To protect his identity from the watchful eyes of the British police, he began writing under different pen names. The most famous of these were Bismil, Ram, and Agyat. The name Bismil means wounded or restless, which perfectly described his state of mind. He was wounded by the suffering of his country and restless for its freedom. Under these pen names, he wrote poems, songs, and articles that were published in secret revolutionary papers. His words traveled far and wide, touching the hearts of thousands of young Indians. His poetry was a secret weapon, spreading the message of revolution without the British even knowing who was behind it. His literary talents were not limited to poetry. He was also a gifted writer and translator. He translated books from other languages into Hindi so that more people could read them. He wanted to educate his fellow Indians about the world and about the ideas of freedom and justice. He believed that knowledge was essential for a successful revolution. By translating these works, he was arming his comrades with ideas which were just as important as guns and bombs. He understood that a revolution of the mind had to happen before a revolution on the ground could succeed. His work as a writer was a crucial part of his contribution to the freedom struggle. His most famous poem, Sarfaroshi Ki Tamanna, became the anthem of the revolutionaries. The lines Sarfaroshi Ki Tamanna ab hamare dil mein hai, dekhna hai zor kitna bazu-e qatil mein hai, which means the desire for martyrdom is now in our hearts. We shall see how much strength the executioner's arms hold, echoed in the hearts of freedom fighters across the country. This poem was not just a collection of words, it was a declaration of their fearless spirit. It showed that they were not afraid of death and were willing to give their lives for their motherland. Bismil, the poet, had given a voice to the courage of an entire generation of revolutionaries. As Bismil's revolutionary ideas grew stronger, he knew that he could not fight alone. To challenge the mighty British Empire, the freedom fighters needed to be organized. Along with other brave young leaders like Sachindra Nath Sanyal and Jogesh Chandra Chatterjee, Bismil formed a new revolutionary organization. They called it the Hindustan Republican Association, or HRA. It was founded in 1924 with a very clear and bold goal: to overthrow British rule through an armed revolution and establish a federal republic of the United States of India. This was a radical idea at a time when many were still hoping for small reforms from the British. The HRA was different from many other groups of its time because it had a vision for the future of India. Bismil and his friends did not just want to get rid of the British. They wanted to build a new India based on the principles of equality and justice. They dreamed of a country where every citizen would have the right to vote and where there would be no exploitation of one person by another. Their manifesto, called The Revolutionary, clearly stated their aim to create a socialist society. This showed that they were not just fighters, they were thinkers who had a plan for a better and fairer nation for all its people. One of the most important principles of the HRA was unity. Bismil strongly believed that India's strength lay in its people standing together, regardless of their religion or region. The HRA welcomed members from all communities, Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs and others. Bismil worked closely with leaders like Ashfaqullah Khan, a devout Muslim, proving that their fight for freedom was above religious differences. They wanted to show the British that their policy of divide and rule would not work on them. Their friendship and their shared mission were a powerful symbol of communal harmony, a message that was incredibly important for India's future. To fund their revolutionary activities, the HRA needed money. They needed it to buy weapons, print pamphlets, and support their members. However, Bismil was very clear that they would not rob ordinary Indian citizens. He believed their fight was against the foreign government, not their own people. Therefore, they decided to target government property and funds. They saw it as taking back what was rightfully India's. This principle led them to plan one of the most daring acts in the history of India's freedom struggle, the Kakori train robbery. The HRA was now ready to move from planning and writing to direct action, shaking the very foundations of the British Raj. The Hindustan Republican Association needed funds to carry out its revolutionary activities. Ram Prasad Bismil and his comrades came up with a bold plan. They decided to rob a train that was carrying British government money. This was not a robbery for personal gain. It was a political act. They wanted to take the money that the British had collected from Indian taxpayers and use it to fight for India's freedom. The target was the number 8 down train traveling from Shahjahanpur to Lucknow. The plan was carefully made. The robbery was set to happen on August 9, 1925, near a small town called Kakori. This event would later become famous as the Kakori train robbery. On that fateful evening, a group of 10 brave revolutionaries, led by Ram Prasad Bismil, boarded the train. The group included other courageous men like Ashfaqullah Khan, Rajendra Lahiri, and Chandra Shekhar Azad. As the train approached Kakori, one of them pulled the emergency chain, and the train came to a sudden halt. The revolutionaries quickly overpowered the guards. They broke open the iron safe in the guards' van that was filled with bags of money. They worked fast, knowing that they had very little time before help could arrive. Their goal was to take the government treasury and send a strong message to the British that their control over India was not absolute. The operation was mostly successful and they managed to get the money. However, a tragic accident occurred. In the confusion and darkness, a passenger who looked out of the train was accidentally shot and killed. This was never part of their plan. Bismil and his friends were deeply saddened by this loss of an innocent Indian life. They had always maintained that their fight was against the oppressive government, not against their own countrymen. This unfortunate incident cast a shadow over their daring act. Despite this, the Kakori robbery was a huge shock to the British government. It was a direct challenge to their authority and showed the growing strength and determination of the revolutionaries. The aftermath of the Kakori robbery was swift and severe. The British government was furious and embarrassed. They launched a massive manhunt to catch the revolutionaries. They were determined to crush the HRA and make an example of its members. The robbery, while successful in acquiring funds, ultimately led to the arrest of many key leaders of the movement. It was a high-risk gamble that had major consequences. But the Kakori incident did something more. It captured the imagination of the Indian people. It showed them that there were young men who were willing to risk their lives for the nation's honor, inspiring a new wave of patriotism across the country. Following the Kakori train robbery, the British police launched one of the biggest investigations in their history in India. They were determined to capture every person involved. Within a month, the arrests began. On the morning of September 26, 1925, Ram Prasad Bismil was arrested in his hometown of Shahjahanpur. Many other members of the HRA were also captured from different parts of the country. The British thought that by arresting the leaders, they could break the spirit of the revolution. But they were wrong. The arrest was not the end for Bismil. It was the beginning of a new chapter, where his courage would shine even brighter. The trial that followed was a long and famous one, known as the Kakori conspiracy case. The revolutionaries were accused of conspiracy, robbery, and murder. The British government spent a huge amount of money on the trial to ensure they were convicted. During the court proceedings, Bismil showed incredible bravery. He and his friends did not act like criminals. Instead, they used the courtroom as a stage to express their love for India. They would enter the court singing patriotic songs like Sarfaroshi Ki Tamana, their voices filled with pride and defiance. Their spirit was unbreakable, and they turned their trial into a symbol of their fight for freedom. The British authorities tried every trick to break them. They offered lighter sentences and rewards to anyone who would become an informer and betray their comrades. They tried to create divisions among the revolutionaries based on religion. But Ram Prasad Bismil stood tall and refused to betray his friends. He showed immense moral character. He knew that their unity was their greatest strength. He refused to name anyone or give any information that could harm the revolutionary movement. His loyalty to his cause and his comrades was absolute, even when he was facing the threat of a death sentence. He chose honor over his own life. Despite a weak case and a defense that pointed out many flaws, the verdict was harsh. The court, working for the colonial government, was determined to make an example of them. In April 1927, the judgment was delivered. Ram Prasad Bismil, along with Ashfaqullah Khan, Rajendra Lahiri, and Roshan Singh, was sentenced to death by hanging. Many others were given long prison sentences. The news was met with sadness and anger across the country, but Bismil accepted the verdict with a calm smile. He was not afraid of death. He believed that his sacrifice would inspire thousands of others to join the freedom struggle, and in this belief, he found peace. In the heart of the revolutionary struggle, a beautiful friendship blossomed. It was the friendship between Ram Prasad Bismil, a devout Hindu, and Ashfaqullah Khan, a devout Muslim. They were both from Shahjahanpur and shared a common dream, a free India. Their bond was not just based on their shared political goals. It was a deep personal connection built on mutual respect, trust, and love. They were like brothers. Bismil was a great poet, and Ashfaqullah also wrote beautiful poetry in Urdu. They would often share their writings, finding inspiration in each other's words and passion for their motherland. Their friendship was a shining example of unity. This friendship was a powerful answer to the British policy of divide and rule. The British often tried to create conflict between Hindus and Muslims to weaken the freedom movement, but the bond between Bismil and Ashfaqullah showed that the love for one's country could overcome any religious divide. They worked together, planned together, and fought together as members of the Hindustan Republican Association. Their mission was one, and their hearts beat for the same cause. They proved that the fight for freedom was not a Hindu or a Muslim fight, it was an Indian fight. Their unity was a source of great strength for the HRA. During the Kakori trial, the police tried their best to break their friendship. They went to Ashfaqullah and tried to turn him against Bismil. A police officer told him, "Ashfaq, you are a Muslim, Bismil is a Hindu, and he wants a Hindu kingdom. We will make you a witness and you will be set free." Ashfaqullah laughed and replied, "Pandit Ram Prasad is my brother. I know him better than you do. His dream is not for a Hindu Raj, but for a free India, where everyone can live in peace." His loyalty was unshakable. He refused to betray his friend, even when his own life was at stake. This powerful moment showed the depth of their bond. Even in their final days in prison, awaiting their execution, their thoughts were with each other. They were kept in different jails, but their spirits remained connected. Their friendship sent a powerful message of communal harmony across the nation. It taught people that true patriotism means loving all your countrymen, irrespective of their faith. The story of Ram Prasad Bismil and Ashfaqullah Khan is not just a story of two revolutionaries. It is a timeless lesson in unity and brotherhood. They lived together for India, and they died together for India, leaving behind a legacy of friendship that continues to inspire generations of Indians to this day. Even behind the dark walls of the prison, Ram Prasad Bismil's spirit could not be held back. His body was locked up, but his mind and soul were free. In the last months of his life, he went back to his best friend, his pen. He spent his time in his prison cell, writing, reading, and thinking. It was then that he wrote his life story. He wanted to tell his story, the story of the HRA, and the story of their fight, in his own words. He wrote with honesty and strong feelings, hoping that his life story would make future generations want to keep fighting for freedom. He secretly got the pages of his life story out of the prison with great difficulty. His poems became even stronger while he was in prison. His words were not full of sadness or regret, but with hope, bravery, and a strong love for his country. He wrote poems that became famous, giving strength to his friends and followers outside. His famous song, Mera Rang de Basanti Chola, O Mother, Colour My Cloak in the Saffron Colour of Sacrifice, became a symbol of the fighting spirit. The song showed the joy and pride of giving one's life for the motherland. It was a song that freedom fighters sang as they walked to be hanged, with their heads held high. Bismil's poetry had the power to change fear into bravery and sadness into celebration. In his writings from prison, Bismil shared his deepest thoughts. He wrote about his dream for India, a country free from poverty, unfairness, and religious fights. He was not just fighting to get rid of the British, he was fighting for a better society. He asked the young people of India to come together and work for the country. He wrote, "I wish for no empire to fall, but for my own country to rise." These words showed his grown-up and positive way of seeing things. He was not driven by hate for the British, but by a huge love for India. His writings from prison show how clear his vision was and how deeply he loved his country. The words of Sarfaroshi Ki Tamanna, which he and his friends sang with such strong feelings, took on a new meaning as their hanging day got closer. The poem was a challenge to those who were unfair, a statement that they were ready to face death for what they believed in. Bismil's poetry was a fire that could not be put out by prison walls or death sentences. His words lived on, echoing in the streets, in protests, and in the hearts of millions of Indians. He showed the world that even when a fighter is silenced, their voice can keep inspiring a nation through the timeless power of poetry. As the day of his execution approached, Ram Prasad Bismil remained calm and cheerful. He spent his final days reading, writing letters, and preparing himself for the ultimate sacrifice. His letters to his mother, friends, and fellow countrymen were not letters of despair, but of hope and encouragement. In his last letter to his mother, Mulmati, he showed incredible strength. He wrote that he was proud to be her son and that he was happy to be giving his life for his motherland. He asked her not to cry, but to feel proud. His mother, a woman of extraordinary courage herself, replied that she was indeed proud to have given a son like him to the nation. On the morning of December 19, 1927, at the Gorakhpur jail, Ram Prasad Bismil walked towards the gallows with his head held high. He was only 30 years old. Before his execution, he performed his morning prayers and chanted Vedic mantras. He is said to have shouted his final words with immense force, "I wish the downfall of the British Empire," and then calmly recited a couplet. He faced death not as a defeated man, but as a victor who had fulfilled his purpose. His martyrdom was not an end, but a new beginning. It lit a flame that would burn even brighter, inspiring countless others to join the freedom struggle. The news of his death, along with the deaths of his comrades Ashfaqullah Khan, Roshan Singh, and Rajendra Lahiri, sent a wave of grief and anger across India. People held protests and mourned the loss of their young heroes, but their sacrifice did not go in vain. It awakened the conscience of the nation. It made people realize the high price of freedom and strengthened their resolve to fight for it. Bismil and his friends became immortal legends. Their names became synonymous with courage, sacrifice, and patriotism. Their story was told and retold in songs, poems, and stories, ensuring that their legacy would never be forgotten. Today, Ram Prasad Bismil's life continues to be a source of great inspiration. He is remembered not just as a revolutionary who fought with guns, but also as a poet who fought with words, a leader who united people, and a martyr who gave his everything for his country. His life teaches us the importance of courage, the power of unity, and the beauty of selfless love for one's nation. His famous lines, "Sarfaroshi ki tamanna, ab hamare dil mein hai," still stir feelings of patriotism in the hearts of Indians. Ram Prasad Bismil, the poet warrior, lives on as a timeless symbol of the spirit of freedom.